Good morning. We have 22 members of the public registered to speak today. The first 30 minutes of public comment will be delivered at the board meeting, and the remainder will be posted online for the public and board members on May 20th. I'd like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Thank you for your patience and understanding throughout the virtual public comment session. The next speaker is Senator Brad Hoylman.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman, representing the 27th Senate District. I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide comment on the MTA's work during this incredibly difficult and stressful time for our city. First, I just want to give a huge thank you to all the MTA workers, including members of TWU Local 100, who continue to go above and beyond the call of duty to keep our public transit system functioning, besides and despite great personal risk. We owe you a debt of gratitude, and we deeply appreciate your work. This pandemic has required us to make many difficult and unprecedented decisions to protect New Yorkers. The decision to close the subway overnight for cleaning and disinfection marks the first time, as you know, in its entire 115-year history that the subway has been intentionally shut down overnight. You know better than I, as well as I, that the subway is the circulatory of our city. It keeps the city moving at all hours of the day and night. And for many, having this 24/7 service is an economic necessity. It allows New Yorkers who work at hospitals, grocery stores, restaurants, and bars to travel safely home and to show up to work the next morning. A report by the Federal Reserve Bank in 2018 found that subway delays and shutdowns disproportionately impact low-income New Yorkers. Public health, of course, has to come first. If health experts tell us the step is necessary to protect New Yorkers' lives, then we should continue to follow the guidance. However, once the worst effects of COVID-19 are behind us, the MTA must restore the 24/7 service that New Yorkers have relied on for decades. That's why I've introduced state legislation S8328 that would require the MTA and New York City Transit to ensure that the city's public transit systems offer continuous 24/7 service when a state of emergency is not in effect. Currently, the only requirement under law for notification before changing the level of service of facilities is a 30-day written notice to the mayor and the city board of estimate, according to the statute. This bill is going to ensure transparency and ensure that the public are given the opportunity to provide input during the process. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide comment. I'll keep fighting for our public transit system in Albany. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Assemblymember Charles D. Fall.
Hello, I hope you are all doing well and are safe during this period. I just really want to focus my comments on the bus service on Staten Island. I understand that the local services and some of the express services have been cut as a result of COVID-19. And you already know, like, many of these cuts significantly impact all Staten Islanders. So I just want the board to please keep in mind that whatever cuts are being made now, that they're reinstated in the future, and that we'll also take into account the safety component too, that we're not jamming Staten Islanders into one space that will put them at risk of contracting the COVID-19 virus. Thank you again. Thank you, Chairman Foy, for your leadership. God bless you all. Be safe.
The next speaker is Omar Vera.
Greetings, MTA Board. Welcome to the May meeting of the virtual board meeting. As I know, we are still facing the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're making great progress along, both at the city and the state level. So soon enough, we shall reopen and we'll see each other again. I also would like to commend the MTA for implementing the nighttime shutdown of the subway system for deep cleaning in order to limit the possibility of anyone lowering the possibility of anyone catching the pathogen. But like I said, it's a good safety measure to keep it closed, the subway during late nights for this measure. But thanks for coming up with an alternative service for our essential workers, the essential connector and more bus service. That is definitely needed, and that's very, very thoughtful of the whole MTA staff. And one more thing before I go. Thanks for calling out the this failure of a so-called prankster, comedian Josh Popkin. Thanks for calling him out for what he did like last week or so when he dumped a crate full of cereal milk to the subway floor on the Bronx bound 4 train. He clearly needed to clean up, do community service for what he did, because we're trying to keep everything clean during this pandemic, and he's screwing things up. But thanks for calling him out, and I really wish that he learned his lesson from that episode. Yeah, that said, I'll see you all in June, and stay great. Okay, thank you.
The next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Matt Camper.
Good morning, folks. Jason Anthony, Vice President of Passengers United. I've been using the Essential Connector for the past 2 weeks. It needs to be improved, although that the mobile app was launched with no public announcement of it. It needs to be improved also. And also, I wonder why the MTA is using yellow and green cabs for the Essential Connector service, because yellow cabs take the longest route and gets to our destination later than usual. Other than that, love to hear the positive train control report. It is lovely that the MTA is doing it again, but not New Jersey Transit. New Jersey Transit hasn't done a positive train control report in months. So let's see if we could give New Jersey Transit a heads up on that. And other than that, I wonder why Pat Floyd came up with the idea with the reservation in the subway. That's a bad idea. We shouldn't have to reserve a seat in our subway system. That is so dumb and so idiotic. So with that, I'll yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Matt Camper, followed by Dexter Watts.
Good morning, MTA board. My name is Matt Camper, regional director for the Long Island Railroad for Passengers United. I want to put my full support this morning towards the procurement for the signal modernization project along the Montauk branch between Babylon and Patchogue. These signals are 80 years old, and it's time. It has to get done. It has to be replaced, especially with the fact that, positive train control is getting done on the Long Island Railroad and Metro North in time for December 31st of this year. These signals, I believe, will not be able to handle positive train control if it's in the old system. So obviously, the entire Long Island Railroad is getting upgraded, and it's time. I'm very glad to see that President Ng is putting this up for a vote today for the signal modernization along the Montauk branch, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more improved train service, and the on-time performance is really getting there, and I'm really hoping that the OTP continues to get better on the Long Island Railroad, and thanks to all the workers, everybody out there who has been doing all the work. So that's it. I'm going to yield back the rest of my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dexter Watts, followed by Mary Parisian Lavelle.
Good morning. My name is Dexter Watts, and I represent Watts International Incorporated. We were established in April 16th of 1980 by my father, Jim Watts, and we're a proud certified minority-owned firm out of Poughkeepsie, New York that sells industrial supplies, janitorial supplies, office supplies, and office equipment. We hold certifications in the state of New York, the city of New York, and with the MTA. And we've done business with the MTA for the past several years. And in January, Watts International was selected to be one of the first companies to participate in the Mentor Protege program launched by ESD and MTA's Department of Diversity and Civil Rights. We've partnered with W.W. Granger in order to execute the contract for the MTA for MRO supplies. In recent months, we were able to increase the amount of business with the MTA by helping secure PPE products. I would like to commend the MTA's Department of Diversity and Civil Rights, along with the agency's supplier diversity team, who work hard to ensure that New York State certified firms have equal access to prime and subcontracting opportunities. We're living in unprecedented times, and to have the ability to offer a price competitive and timely delivered product to the MTA is an honor. The biggest challenges that we face are no different from larger companies. Our industry is faced with severe availability issues when it comes to PPE products. Many PPE manufacturers have established a mandate that the federal government, hospitals, and first responders are the first ones to receive the products. Watts International's position is that the MTA is pretty much the petri dish of this global pandemic, and PPE manufacturers need to look at the MTA as a priority agency.
Please conclude your remarks.
To get these products out. I appreciate that, the time that you guys given me, and have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mary Parison Lavelle, followed by John Lavelle.
Good morning. My name is Mary Parison Lavelle. I'm the chair of a coalition called CURES, Civics United for Railroad Environmental Solutions. Who would have ever thought that clean air to breathe would be so treasured? This pandemic has shown us all that people with respiratory conditions face an extra danger, and CURES has been fighting for the last 12 years for clean air. CURES petitioned the state legislators to have the 1970 locomotives that the Long Island Railroad owns and New York and Atlantic Railway operates to be repowered. And $21 million has been allocated to date. But the Long Island Railroad had New York and Atlantic Railway steer the procurement to a preferred vendor, Progress Rail. And even though another company had a lower bid and a proven, cleaner operating locomotive, Long Island Railroad's Progress Rail, the PR-20B prototype, has been less than reliable. And on page 2 of CURES' handout, which I hopefully believe you'll have, you can see that on April 28, 2020, the photo of the latest PR-20B operational failure. Today, Waste Management has a Tier 4 locomotive with near zero emissions that New York Atlantic has been operating for almost a year. And the locomotive manufacturer also did a successful Tier 4 repowering for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. That's the New York-New Jersey Rail. And New York and Atlantic President James Bonner, he's told NIMTIC that this locomotive works fantastic. However, I don't know why the Long Island Railroad doesn't want to touch it. You can take the remaining $16 million and repower the MP-15s that New York Atlantic is using and repower them to be a US EPA Tier 4 locomotive. Please do this and remove 95% of the current locomotive pollution. And that's in excess of over 200,000.
Please conclude your remarks.
Please act responsibly with this public money to benefit the public. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is John Lavelle.
Hello, my name is John Lavelle, also speaking for CURES today. After the PR-20B procurement malfeasance came to light, the Long Island Railroad decided to take charge of MTA RFP 6263. Instead of repowering New York and Atlantic switches as planned, the Long Island Railroad issued a gold-plated RFP for brand-new locomotives that included line-haul locomotives up to 2,800 horsepower. The RFP included restrictive specifications that qualified only 2 engine manufacturers. One builder, Cummins, didn't even make an engine in this class. The other was Caterpillar. Guess what? They own Progress Rail. See an article about the Long Island Railroad's history of rigged procurements for the PR-20Bs and other unreliable offered fleets on page 411 of your handout. MTA board member Samuelson asked for an investigation after hearing about this, and Chairman Foy referred it to MTA Inspector General Carolyn Picorni in June 2019. We got an email on April 1st, 2020, saying that the case was closed, so there was nothing to see here. These were issues raised by the MTA board's own reform committees and New York Times investigations. MTA board members have said you need culture change and reforms to improve project management, procurement, and contracting. MTA board members said you must increase competition, reduce project timelines and costs, and buy off the shelf. With limited finances, reform is more important than ever. Communities are in desperate need of wholesome air. New York State's goal is to reduce greenhouse gases that are causing climate change. Please help our communities. Thank you and stay safe.
Thank you. The next speaker is Murray Bowden.
Good morning. Alex E. Gooden has done an excellent job in bringing change to the way people with accessibility needs are accommodated by the MTA. Alex, please have your staff create a plan whereby a wheelchair user who parks in a handicapped parking space has a shared crosswalk next to the vehicle that is part of a continuous crosswalk to the entrance to the station. There are numerous handicapped parking spaces, but no way to get safely from them to the station. This is a new concept. Your creative staff should easily find the answer to this unrecognized problem. You've done a great job. Thank you. And thank you all for this opportunity to present this information.
Thank you. The next speaker is William Dwight McLeod, followed by Andrew Pollack.
Good morning, Chairman Foy and MTA leadership team and distinguished members of the Board of Governors. I hope all of you are managing to stay safe as we negotiate our way through this most trying time that I've ever experienced in my 65 years on this earth. My name, as you know, my company is Capstone Strategy Group. Our business is business transformation for companies. We do that in a number of ways, utilizing technology, utilizing process improvement, utilizing the strength of your internal teams to help you run your businesses more effectively. Our current involvement with the MTA has us providing staff augmentation in the IT area, and so we've been helped tremendously by the efforts of your diversity and civil rights organization under the leadership of Mike Garner and Christine Norman, helping and assisting him, along with George Llanos, Danny Camacho, Leneda Rodriguez. We have been helped tremendously to participate in the efforts of the MTA. I feel that the skills that we bring to the MTA, coming from a smaller company, will always help you do a better job of managing more with less, because that's what we've always had to do. My ask of you would be this. Since this contract that we started serving on 5 years ago has been in place, a number of qualifications for staff have come out. And those qualifications are involved in AI, machine learning, RPA skills. We'd like to have you expand our ability to participate in these fields with your organization. Thank you for your team, and please stay safe.
Thank you. The next speaker is Andrew Pollack, followed by Lisa Daglian.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Pollack. I am the Public Advisor to Passengers United. And I'm here today to talk about this crazy idea that Chairman Foy is suggesting to have a reservation system for buses and subways. And let's hear me out for a second. Buses, and I know this for a fact, you can make a reservation for. All you have to do is go on the MTA website, look up the PDF file like I do on my phone, and you know what time the bus comes. And thankfully, if it were to happen that way, I could put what route I want to go on and then schedule what time I would like to board a bus. For subways, however, this is the opposite, because many people know I ride the E and the F train a lot, and this was before the pandemic. And what makes me upset is, let's say I go back to my previous lifestyle before the pandemic, where I want to go into the city for leisure, I want to go to the parks, I want to go grab lunch somewhere in Midtown, and I have to make a reservation just to go on the E and the F train. There were 6 million people before this pandemic daily who rode the subway system. Is it logical that we are not going to see overcrowded subways once we do get society back on track? Honestly, no. So my time is up, so I want Lisa to come on, but that's all I want to say. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all in June.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lisa Daglian, followed by Rachel Faust.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Daglian, Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC. The MTA continues to move the essential workers who save lives and care for the sick, and all those who allow us to flatten the curve. We thank the transit workers who make this happen and mourn the loss of too many. It's critical the MTA emerge from this crisis ready to serve riders and support the region's recovery. With nearly 10% of the U.S. GDP, as the region's economy goes, so goes the nation's fiscal health. But the MTA cannot sustain itself without substantial support, the kind that only the federal government can provide. On May 6th, the MTA asked Congress for an additional $3.9 billion in funding, and on Friday, the House voted to support that ask through the HEROES legislation. We thank them. These emergency funds are an investment in the future health of the region and the millions of riders who rely on the very transit system that will ultimately allow us to get back in business and looking forward to a new normal. That's going to take a while. Meanwhile, we're learning to live with overnight subway closures. We're looking forward to hearing more about the reopening plan, particularly for the 4 to 5 a.m. time period, which has the heaviest overnight usage, which will only grow as the city and region reopen and construction resumes. We also look forward to full resumption of capital construction. The pandemic has highlighted the importance of improving the system as a whole. Reducing crowding by running more trains faster will be essential to our recovery efforts. The capital program is the lever that'll make that happen. But the MTA can't begin those vital upgrades until there's more federal funding certainty to cover the necessary costs. Those funds will allow the MTA to keep the network operating without having to dip into capital funds, to avoid unlocking the lockbox that keeps the funds separate. If New York doesn't succeed, if transit doesn't succeed, it will have a long-term negative impact on national COVID-19 recovery efforts. We hope Congress is listening. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rachel Faust, followed by Felicia Park Rogers.
Good morning. I'm Rachel Faust, the Senior Research Analyst for reInvent Albany. We advocate for more transparent and accountable state government, including for authorities like the MTA. First, we would like to express our continued appreciation for the essential work being undertaken by MTA employees. And we honor the more than 100 transit workers who have lost their lives and offer our condolences to their families, friends, and colleagues. These are dire times for the MTA, and we strongly support the MTA's request for an additional $3.9 billion in federal emergency rescue funds. In April alone, the MTA lost nearly $600 million in fare and toll revenue. That was $487 million in fares and about $104 million in tolls. This is a gigantic hole, and the MTA has said it needs $10.4 billion total in federal emergency aid to the end of 2021 to survive. We are working hard with the MTA and transit advocates here and in Washington to get the MTA the funding it must have from Congress. Federal rescue aid is crucial, but it's also vital that New York State does its part and does not balance its own budget by raiding MTA dedicated funds. As reInvent Albany and 10 of our colleagues wrote to the governor and legislative leaders in April, the upcoming May state budget modification, which has not yet been announced, must respect that MTA dedicated taxes were created to provide a stable and reliable dedicated funding source for subway, bus, commuter rail, and transit capital projects. MTA dedicated taxes should be entirely appropriated to the MTA and not thrown into the state general fund. As it is, the Metropolitan Mass Transportation Operating Assistance Fund, MMTOA, decreased $140 million in April 2020 compared to April 2019. This is a 47% decrease in revenue according to the Comptroller's reports on tax receipts. The MTA cannot afford to have these critical operating funds reduced further through across-the-board cuts to the state budget, which if applied to dedicated funds would effectively be a raid on taxes created by the legislature solely for the MTA. We've asked the governor and legislative leaders to ensure that the MTA keeps every dollar of dedicated tax revenue that comes in, with no funds used to prop up the state's general shortfall. Using MTA funds for general state purposes will also diminish the MTA's argument that it needs additional federal funding in order to be able to provide safe and secure service. We will continue to work hard at the federal and state level to ensure that the MTA and the riders it serves have the funding needed to ensure continued recovery of our region, which is dependent on a healthy and functioning mass transit system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Felicia Park Rogers.
Hi, my name is Felicia Park Rogers. I'm the Director of Regional Infrastructure Projects for Tri-State Transportation Campaign. And I would like to thank the MTA workers and the board for all of the extraordinary extra work you've been doing since this started. And I would like to extend our condolences to the families of the more than 100 workers who have lost their lives. Today, I would like to have comments based on recent conversations with riders on the MTA and some data that we recently performed. As we all know, the ridership on the MTA is down between 89 and 98% of different branches of the MTA. However, that still means there are approximately 900,000 riders every single day riding different branches of the MTA. And they are experiencing different disruptions in service. Most of those people, according to the Transit Center numbers, 60% of the riders are women and a vast majority are people of color. They are mostly essential workers who are going to our grocery stores, to our hospitals, serving as janitors and security staff across the city and keeping our region running. They deserve to have clean trains with great frequency to allow for social distancing. Overnight, for these important closures for sanitizing, they need to have frequent bus service going. We are hearing from riders who are bringing their own sanitary wipes and wiping down where they sit and stand that they are coming up black with their, this is not acceptable. They need clean places to sit and ride. Additionally, overnight, we're hearing, particularly from riders in Queens, that wait times are as much as 20 and 30 minutes. These are people who are trying to get to long, hard jobs, and they should not be standing on street corners for 20 or 30 minutes overnight in the dead of night. We need to increase frequency of buses. Our numbers pre-COVID indicate that this could be as much as $100 million in operating expenses. We understand that that's a lot of money. Nevertheless, we need to be able to provide this service and change the off-peak frequency for riders.
Thank you. The next speaker is Penda Aiken.
Hi, good morning, MTA Board. My name is Penda Aiken. I am the president of Penda Aiken Incorporated. We are a workforce solution firm specializing in staff augmentation, HR, MWBE, and community outreach consulting. We were started in 1990. I wish to comment this morning on the MTA Supplier Diversity Program and why they are so important to the MWBE community. We have benefited from the program, and for the past few years, have provided staff augmentation services to the MTA Capital Construction and Development, as well as to the New York City Transit. However, at this time, this critical time, I really have to say thank you to Mike and the MTA Supplier Diversity Program for helping us to provide services, essential services, to the MTA workers during this very difficult period. And how has that been done? How has that been accomplished? First of all, we are providing nurses to the COVID-19 hotline at the MTA New York City Transit Work-Life Services area. And in addition, those nurses are providing important wellness assessments of MTA workers as they return back to work. And now with the new normal, we are providing temperature checkers at the various MTA work sites. So as a result of these opportunities, we've been afforded the opportunity to remain fully operational. We've had 0 layoffs, and I'm pleased to report that we've hired approximately 60 additional nurses and healthcare professionals who continue to provide valuable support services to the MTA and its workers. Again, thank you, Mike Garner, Zenaida Rodriguez, Christine Norman, and the rest of the MTA Diversity Supplier Diversity Program. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Haley Duarte.
Thank you. So my name is Haley Duarte. I am the owner of Zion Contracting. First, I want to thank the MTA for creating the Small Business Development Program. We are living proof that the program works. When we started with the mentoring program, we have 3 employees and around $200,000 in sales. With the help and opportunities provided by the program, we were able to grow our business to 30 employees and close to $10 million annual sales. The program has changed my family and employee lives and have impacted our communities. And this time, it's fair to say they have saved lives. In the time of COVID-19, minority communities have been affected the most. And we worry that because of the economic shortfall that the state is facing, those progress can be compromised. COVID-19 has shown the unfair disparity that exists in our society. And as the governor said, this is the time to create and reimagine a new New York, to build a better New York. The MTA mentoring program have proven to be a great avenue for small contractors to enter the world of public work, where before it was almost impossible to get into for us. It has provided the opportunity to small businesses to grow and thrive. At the same time, to provide good paying jobs to different sectors of society. Small businesses are the backbone of New York and will help create the better New York that we all want. We need the MTA to lead the way one more time and to fund the mentoring program in an unprecedented way. We also need the board to fund projects between $3 and $24 million so the firms that graduate from the program can keep growing and develop into larger firms. Let's show how it's done. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charlton D'Souza. I'm the president of Passengers United, and I want to, say how sad I feel about what's going on. We've lost so many transit workers, and my heart goes out to all of them. But I want to comment today on the bus command center contract, which has gone up by millions and millions of dollars than the original price, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that needs to be investigated by the MT board. Also, I'm very upset about the MT bus time, app, the new app that came out yesterday. The app doesn't work. The maps are old, and it does not tell the overnight essential worker that the Long Island Railroad is running for free. And also with the overnight plan in general, I feel that, a lot of the buses are not showing up. People are being left stranded. But the bigger issue is the homeless. So now that the homeless are no longer in the system at night, now they're riding the trains all day. They're harassing people. The trains are filthy. I saw that firsthand myself yesterday, and it was a horrible experience. Also, I feel that when people come back, the MTA should be free for at least 2 or 3 weeks to give people a chance to get their first paycheck. That's the least we can do with the $500 stimulus package that's coming in, because a lot of people cannot afford MTA right now. And thank you.
The next speaker is Christopher Gray.
I'm Christopher D. Grice from New York City Transit Riders Council, also a member of other hats as well. I'm here today to one thing, I want to thank Sarah Feinberg. I also want to thank a lot of Ms. Feinberg and our chair, who has been really advocating to keep the trains and buses cleaner, more healthier, and keeping the drivers to make sure that wheelchairs and walkers and people with disability are getting on the buses very importantly. The only issue that we still need to work together, and I will say everyone we need to work together, is help the homelessness at Penn Station areas, because, you know, once the trains are not running, they are going to hang out somewhere over there. We need to work together with mental health and any agencies with them who have disabilities to help them to get the routine, to get them the necessary help and the necessary assistance. They should not be sleeping on floors, not, you know, starting up with people, because we don't know what diagnosis they have. We don't know how they can communicate with us. And I have been seeing this a lot. So I'm encouraging that we can all work together and get them somewhere safe and to continue cleaning the trains and the buses at the same time. Because, you know, right now with this Corona-19, it is changing. And we need to be more careful with our young children, young teens. They're following the health as well. Thank you, everyone.
The next speaker is Alita Dupree.
Good morning, MTA Board, Chair Pat Foy and members. Alita Dupree for the record. My pronouns are she and her. As you can see, I have a virtual background of a place near and dear to me, which is Grand Central Terminal. In my short comment today, I just want to touch on the basics as we move through this crisis. I feel it's really important to continue the work with Omni fare payment and to do as much as we can to continue the program as long as we can keep our workers safe, because safety must come first. But with the shutdown of the stations at night, I think maybe there's some chance to start reinstalling again. I'd like to see some more clarity with accessibility. I know that we have a lot of stations that aren't accessible, and I feel that there needs to be more detail as far as accessibility in Grand Central, because on the lower level, you have partial ramps that lead into stairs. I can climb stairs, but some can't. So I know the whole station is accessible, but I'd like to know in more detail how we navigate the lower level. And I care about this system, and I want us to be aspirational. I'd like to think that someday we can convert all of our stations to be accessible, and I would like to see us do electrification. Okay, I think my time is up, and I thank you.
Our next speaker is Christine Go.
Okay, thank you. I had a situation yesterday with a driver on the X28 bus. Pulling up, he asked if I was an essential worker. I said no, but my travel is essential, and I have the court order specifying visitation from my daughter. He motioned for me to board, and I asked him if he wanted to see the court order. He cut me off and told me not to talk. I go sit down, and he told me I didn't pay. I go to the front and to explain that, sorry, I was distracted. He cut me off again and told me not to talk. He also instructed me to sit all the way in the back as far as possible. He picked up 2 more passengers on the way and did not check if they were essential workers and didn't tell them where to sit. When it was time to get off the bus, he looked the other way as if I'd infect him. I wore a mask the whole ride. I felt harassed because of my race. I'd also like to know if drivers can enforce checking if you're an essential worker, and if they get to pick and choose who they can ask. Regardless of enforcement, his conduct was very disturbing to me. And that's it.
Thank you very much.